Thank you for tuning in to QA Bytes. In the last episode of the Continuous Performance Testing in DevOps series, we discussed how we can evaluate performance at the commit and integration stages of our pipeline. In episode 4, we're discussing what we can learn about performance at the acceptance stage as well as in production. Let's take a look at what the acceptance stage might look like in our pipeline. It's common to have an inline environment where additional component tests can be run or test on small subsystems of components, as well as an out-of-line environment where more traditional system-level performance tests are performed as necessary. For the inline environment, this is likely where you'll be running your automated acceptance and regression tests. I also recommend capturing end-user level performance metrics as part of your automated regression executions. This can be added to most frameworks fairly easily. Typically, we'll capture response times as well as user and browser level performance metrics. And we may even capture HAR files by using something like Browser Mob Proxy. The data can be saved off as part of your execution results and then dumped into a time series database for later analysis if necessary. Ideally, you'll be executing your component level tests on every deployment with the dependencies mocked. For the out-of-line environment, this is where you'll be executing something that resembles a more traditional performance test. However, since you've been evaluating performance as you move through the pipeline, this will not be the first time you're learning about the performance of your system. Ideally, it becomes a confirmation of what you already know. Also, for the system-level performance tests, all the recommended practices still apply. There's no magic. You still need to make sure your load profile, or the number of concurrent users, what they're doing, and what the throughput is appropriate. You need to understand your test data requirements and if prepared accordingly, and that you're prepared to monitor not only user level metrics, but system and infrastructure level metrics as well. Let's talk about performance testing in production. I think most of us are monitoring our apps in production, or at least we should be. However, testing in production, while once taboo, is fairly common today and an important part of a continuous performance testing strategy. One of the obvious benefits of testing in production is the confirmation that production can support the expected load conditions. But it also allows us to test the entire system, not just what's behind the firewall. And with the wide availability of cloud-based load tools, we can evaluate the user experience from various locations and network conditions. Of course, testing in production isn't as easy as pointing your test to the prod environment. There are some things we need to do to maximize the benefit and minimize the risk. One mistake I see, especially from the performance testing side, is creating the strategy in a vacuum. You need to get input from across the organization so you can put together a comprehensive plan that adds value. Certainly, if your app is hosted in a third-party environment, you need to coordinate that with them. If you don't, you risk making them really unhappy or being blocked because they think it's an attack. Of course, if your app is already live, you have customers, so you need to either find execution windows that minimize the impact on them, or possibly cordon off part of the production environment to handle customer traffic while the rest of the environment is open for testing. Finally, it's a good idea to eliminate or mock requests to third-party services so you don't unintentionally impact their customers as part of your testing efforts. Thank you for watching this episode of QA Bytes. Tune into the next episode where we'll talk about the best approach to implementing continuous performance testing in your pipeline.